Hey everybody, Steve Huber here with Billion Dollar Contractor. I want to talk about sales numbers and sales metrics and expectations and baselines and all that good stuff. And the reason is so many contractors don't understand where their numbers are, or they don't understand where they should be. They think they're doing awesome, they think they're doing terrible. In reality, they don't know because they don't know what the standard should be and what they should be expecting. And life gets a hell of a lot easier when you understand kind of what everybody else is doing and what is normal. And, it can screw you either way. Either you think you're doing really good and you're doing really bad compared to everybody else, or you're crushing it and you're ready to fire your manager because they're not living up to your expectations. You're measuring the wrong stuff. And I don't want to see that happen to any of you. So today I'm going to walk you through a very basic funnel of how leads come into your company, how many you should be sitting, how many you should be closing, all that good stuff, so you can apply it to your business and see if you're doing good, bad, mediocre, somewhere in the middle, who knows, and make sure that you're following the right path, okay? So first off, let's start with leads. Like, what should leads cost? How should we get them? All that good stuff. Now, leads are a very sensitive topic, and there's a bazillion different ways that you can get leads into your company. You can knock on doors, you can get referrals, you can buy lists, you can do whatever it may be, okay? Lead cost in and of itself is not the most important thing. What you're focusing on is the actual cost to acquire a customer. And what that means is that a lead may be very expensive, but it actually converts into a customer very well. Whereas I could sell you a name out of the phone book and you got to have 1,000 of them to actually turn them into something, okay? So lead cost on itself is something to pay attention to. But again, cost to acquire a customer is going to be our ultimate gauge of how our entire funnel is operating and functioning, okay? Now, when you get a lead into your company, and a lead for me is somebody that has filled something out that says, I am interested. You can buy that data. You can have maybe a lead magnet on your website or a fill-in form, something like that, okay? Now, a certain percent of those leads are not going to turn into appointments. In fact, a decent chunk of them are not going to turn into appointments. Oh, I don't know what that was. I was just filling it out to get the free guide. I was just checking out some numbers, blah, 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 blah. If you have higher than a 50 or 60% lead to appointment rate, you're doing pretty good, okay? That is pretty standard for the industry. In fact, I would say if you have a 95% lead to appointment rate, you're probably not being aggressive enough with your marketing, and you're probably being too narrow. And we'll talk about some of those things too, because I see that problem all the time, where people are like, oh, I have this wonderful metric. And it's like, yeah, you do, but you get one deal a month. So if we're 1 for 1 on everything, but if we're closing our grandma and nobody else we appeal to, it's not really a good business to run. So you want to have a certain amount of rejection because it tells you you're casting a wide enough net to begin with, all right? So again, 50, 60% is a good place to begin on lead to appointment rate. Now we've booked an appointment with somebody. We've got a time in the books that we're going to go see them or talk to them or have a video call, something along those lines. A certain percent of people are not going to show up to that appointment, all right? They're going to forget about it. They're going to be busy. They're going to have, something come up. If you are sitting more than 80% of the appointments that you book, you're doing pretty good, okay? 80% or higher is where we want to be. In other words, we want to have less than 20% of our appointments no show us or fall off. Now, the very best companies are going to be below 10% in this category, all right? But I'd say if you're below 20%, probably another area you need to focus on. This one is not that big of a deal, although any of these top of the funnel improvements that you can make are going to have big impacts on the funnel on the way down. So focus on, again, if you're below 20%, you're doing great. Make it your goal to get below 10%. If you're below 10%, great job. You're doing awesome. You're setting appointments. People are showing up. That means you're providing good value for them in being able to show up to that appointment, all right? Now, next thing is going to be close rate. And again, I'm going very high level here. There's a bazillion different metrics that you can track and that you should be tracking if you own a business. But again, the core ones are going to be the biggest needle movers for you out the gate. And if you're not tracking these, it's really hard to track the small stuff because you don't have good foundations in place to begin with. Now, a close rate, I define as how many appointments sat, so not how many were booked, how many actually showed up. And again, that number should be about 80 to 90% show up. And of the ones that we sit, how many do we sell? All right. That doesn't mean that they had perfect credit. It doesn't mean that, it was a one leg or a two leg, or the husband and wife weren't there, or the house wasn't dilapidated, or whatever it may be. Those things exist for everybody. Everybody has to deal with those challenges. So if you're like, well, gosh, this doesn't apply to my market, Steve, because I work in, Junktown. Don't worry about it, okay? This number's the same for everybody. If you have a company-wide close rate on that metric of above 25, 30%, you're doing pretty damn good, okay? I would argue if your close rate, if I just described that scenario to you and you're like, oh, I have a 70% close rate, you either need to raise prices or you're scrubbing too many people out on the top end of your funnel. And that's a massive, massive drag, okay? Yes, we'd love to sell every single person we sit to, but we don't want to make it so hard to sit down with us that we weed out a lot of great potential clients, okay? I am very happy with a close rate between 25 and call it 35 or 40%. When I start hitting 35, 40%, it's a sign to me that we've either been too restrictive on who we've pre-qualified out, or our prices are too low and we need to raise prices. Believe me, it is way better to have a 30% close rate with significantly higher margins than a 40% close rate with drastically lower margins. The goal is to make money, not to sign up as many customers as we can and have all these customers that we have to manage and projects we have to manage. The goal is to make money, okay? So again, if you're 25 to 40%, you're probably in the sweet zone, okay? If you're higher than that, raise your prices or get your pre-qualifications down to get in front of more people. If you're below that, you got a sales problem. So if you have a 5 or 10 or 15 or 20% close rate, you got to work on getting that close rate up and getting more deals in the door. That's where sales training is going to come in handy for you, okay? Last one I want to talk about is referral rate. How much of our business should be coming from new customers that we market and we spend money to get, and how much is coming from existing customers or self-gen activities that our reps are doing? Now, when I say self-gen activities, that means things like we're talking to the mailman about what we do for work, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds great, Steve. We should, I've always looked for. I need a new roof at my house. Maybe you can come by and give me a new roof." Okay. I'm not talking about actually going out and knocking on doors or marketing or things like that. Okay. And if you don't track that metrics today, it's okay, but you probably should. Okay. And it's going to tell you where your business is actually coming from and how you can improve it. All right. Now, again, every company is slightly unique here, but if you want to be a big contractor, if your goal is to really scale and grow your business, it's extremely hard to do on just referrals by itself or just self-gen deals by itself. You're not going to have that many at bats. You got to get your name out there in the market and actually do some marketing and advertising. For me, a good ratio of marketing to referrals is about 70 to 30%. Okay. So what that means is 70% of our business is coming from marketing efforts. We're buying leads, we're running ads, we're doing door knocking events, we're being aggressive. We're on offense to go get leads so we can close deals. 30%, have it come from your existing customers and your existing book of business. And by the way, you don't need to wait till the system's installed or the roof's installed to do any of that. You can go day one and get referrals. Don't let anybody tell you differently, okay? The customer already likes you. They already trust you. That's why they signed the contract and bought from you. Get referrals. Get referrals right there on that first appointment. And, again, it's not impossible. You absolutely can do it, and you should expect to do it. If you're not getting 30 to 40%, I would say, of your business from referrals, then your team is not executing well on it. It means they either don't have confidence in your ability to deliver on your promises that they're making to those referrals, they don't know how to get those referrals, or you've never set the expectation that they should be getting referrals, okay? 30 to 40%, that's your golden number. Again, if you're higher than that, if you're getting 90% of your business from referrals, it's going to be real hard for you to grow. I'm telling you right now. You're just not going to have the kind of volume coming through, the kind of margins coming through. You just can't do it. And it's going to be really difficult for you to get out of your way and grow that business. Not to say it's never happened or it can't be done. It's just going to be really, really challenging to do it. Okay. If you have a 5% referral rate, you're leaning way too heavy on marketing. You got to go to your team and say, hey, I need this number at 30 to 40%. That's where the magic happens. Okay. So again, start at the top. Start with how many leads you have coming in, how many appointments you're booking from those leads, how many of those are sitting and showing up. Of the ones that we sit, how many do we close? And how much of our total business is coming from referrals, okay? Now, again, every company is different and every product is different. If you're selling fences versus solar systems, those are very different pricings that your contract is, right? And so you should expect to pay more to get a solar sale than you do a fence sale, right? Everybody needs a fence or a roof. Not everybody needs a solar system or can get one. They got too many shade, too many trees. The roof's not right. They live in a dome or something like that. Okay, so your marketing cost, if you are, I would say 5 to 8% of your overall revenue for marketing costs, great job. You're doing awesome. Okay, if you're higher than that, I would focus on your marketing and try and get that number down. And again, look at the whole funnel. That cost may be high because you're not getting any referrals, because you're not closing well, because you're not sitting the appointments. See what I'm saying? It goes backwards, okay? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you can keep your marketing cost at 5 to 8% of revenue, you got a great, healthy business you can run. If any of those other numbers are off, you need to work on it, okay? Come up with a plan and a goal to work on it. And I'll tell you right now, if you're like, oh my gosh, Steve, I don't even track this data. I don't know it's data. I'm missing on all of these things, or I'm exceeding and blowing them out of the water. You need help. And a lot of times it's hard for us to see our own flaws in our own systems because we built the damn thing. We know how it's supposed to operate. We're also close to it, and our egos get involved. If somebody subjectively said, Steve, look at your website and see what you think about it, I'd probably say, hey, it looks pretty good. Whereas somebody that looks at websites all day long is going to come in and be like, oh my God, why did you do this way? Why did you set this form up this way? Why is this button over here? Okay, and ask questions that I probably don't have a good answer to. If you need help with your data, reach out to us. Let us know. We'll look at it for free for you, see if there's a problem, and help just get a second set of eyes on it for you so you can see that you're actually hitting or missing on places. I've seen so many great companies want to fire their managers because they didn't have the right expectation of what those numbers should be. I've also seen a lot of companies that retained really crappy and bad managers because they were told that a 10% close rate was how it should be. Or they were told that we have a 90% close rate. It's so wonderful. In reality, they were filtering out and killing so many leads on the front end and pre-qualifying them so hard up front that they only showed up to people that were laydowns, that were ready to buy. There was actually no selling involved. And it was crushing their cost to acquire a customer. If you're not sure where you're at or where you should be, or you have specific questions, hit me up. Let me know. Me or one of my team members will get with you. We'll look at the data for free and just give you a second set of eyes so at least you have peace of mind on how it sits. I hope that was helpful for you. If you liked the video, make sure you check everyone out. I've got a full library of them for you. And again, our goal is to help you win, and that's all we want to do is just see you win every day, and I hope all's well. Take care.